exterior, battlefield of KAYOREE, day. The army of Hammer Ridge is completing its victory over a rebellious battalion of Goomen,
a filthy tribe of nomads from the north. 100 Goomen lay dead, and many others flee as the king's soldiers continue to swing their swords. General Minami takes off the head of one Goomen with a single stroke. He raises his sword victoriously.
For honor! For king! For Hammer Ridge!
Across the field, General Minami raises her sword and echoes back at Minami.
For honor! For king! For Hammer Ridge!
The body of another Gooman goes flying down a hill as Mikami turns and swings his axe into a charging Gooman. He turns toward Mikami and Munami, surveying the battlefield, and raises his sword.
For honor! For king! For Hammer Ridge!
Interior, the Great Hall, dusk. The council is gathered, as well as many advisors and dignitaries. The bull marchers, the king's personal bodyguards, stand to the side. It is a day of celebration, as Mikami, Minami, and Munami are given medallions for their years of valor in defending the kingdom. King Morpheus, the benevolent ruler of Hammer Ridge, places a medallion around each of their necks, and the trio bow and reaffirms their allegiance to the king and the kingdom.
It is a great day. We have many reasons to celebrate. I am honored to have such brave and loyal generals leading my kingdom's army.
Klishti Ma stands off to one side of the room, a loving gaze in her eyes. She smiles as she watches King Morpheus. The last of the medallions is given out, and Mikami steps forward to speak.
Praise the King Morpheus, as we now enter a new era of peace in the kingdom.
Klishti Ma continues admiring King Morpheus from afar. Interior, hallway, continuous. King Morpheus enters an empty hallway, followed by the bull marchers. Klishti Ma steps in front of him, halting his path. The king signals for the bull marchers to stop.
My lord, I was hoping we would have an opportunity to be alone.
Klishti Ma, I always have time for my most loyal council member.
Klishti Ma reaches up to stroke the king's face, and at the same time moves closer, as if to kiss him. King Morpheus quickly grabs her wrist before she can touch him. Klishti Ma looks shocked.
That night was a mistake.
But I...
We will never speak of it again.
King Morpheus releases her hand and looses his stern gaze.
Now, are there any matters of state which we need to discuss at this time?
Klishti Ma just looks at him, unbelieving. King Morpheus gives her a brief moment to respond. She is still dumbfounded.
Then, I have to meet Queen Racinda in her chambers.
The king starts to walk away, then turns to Klishti Ma, and in a serious but personal tone.
You are a valuable member of my council. We cannot let our misguided past harm the future of the kingdom. I know I can count on you to accept your role.
Klishti Ma pauses. A world of emotions run through her head.
Certainly, my lord.
King Morpheus nods approvingly and walks away. The bull marchers follow. Klishti Ma watches. Her gaze changes from one of isolation to one of hatred.
I will have you. If not in this lifetime, then in the next.
As she watches King Morpheus exit the hallway, Kumba Ma is in the shadows, having witnessed the entire exchange. He smiles. Interior, the Great Hall, day. The ceremony is over, though people are still milling about, congratulating one another. Klishti Ma continues to watch King Morpheus as he moves through the crowd, speaking kind words to his subjects. Kumba Ma notices Klishti Ma's loving gaze at the king. He walks over to her.
You and he would be a perfect couple.
Klishti Ma smiles at her brother's compliment.
The queen is useless. She hasn't even been able to bear a child for the king. To have you replace her would be beneficial to the kingdom.
It's not about the kingdom. It is about my heart.
Don't be blinded by your emotions, sister.
Kumba Ma stops speaking as he realizes that his sister is distracted. She watches as King Morpheus steps out of the main room. Exterior, the chemist's store, night. A knock on the door. A small window slides open. It is Kula Ba, the underground chemist of the black arts. He peers out of the small opening. He sees Kumba Ma. Without a word, the door opens and Kumba Ma enters. Interior, the chemist's store, continuous. Kumba Ma walks in, ignoring Kula Ba, and browses through the shelves and boxes of unusual ingredients. Kula Ba steps back to a corner of the room. They have done this same routine many times before. Kumba Ma pulls a sack from his pocket and begins placing items into it. Unusual roots, berries, and animal parts. When he is through, he walks over to Kula Ba and takes some coins out of his pocket. He hands them to Kula Ba, who looks down at the coins but does not count them. Kula Ba watches as Kumba Ma departs, then locks the door behind him. Exterior, the chemist's store, continuous. Kumba Ma walks down the alley away from the chemist's store. He pushes the bag of ingredients deeper into his pocket. Two of the king's guards watch from a distance, and when Kumba Ma is well ahead, they begin to follow him. Interior, Klishti Ma's villa, night. Klishti Ma is bent over a counter. She is cutting some sort of nut into small pieces and places them into a pot, which is already boiling. Kumba Ma steps into the room. He is holding his bag of ingredients. He stands next to her at the counter and removes all the ingredients from the bag.
Did you soak the bashing nuts before you sliced them?
I am not a low-level apprentice.
Kumba Ma finishes organizing the ingredients and places a piece of paper with writing on it next to them.
The eyes are Retetus. Next, one at a time.
Klishti Ma gives him a quick glare, then continues to mix the concoction as the pot boils.
This will be a painful death for the king. I should remember not to spurn you.
Kumba Ma finishes making preparations to the ingredients, but the smell of the boiling mixture is soon so rancid that he puts a handkerchief to his nose to block the smell. He finishes his tasks and hands Klishti Ma the piece of paper. She places it next to her.
I can't stand the stench. I'll be leaving now.
Kumba Ma, still holding the handkerchief to his nose, walks out. Exterior, Klishti Ma villa, night. Kumba Ma exits, seeing the guards and Munami gathered across the street. He nods at them and heads across. Interior, Klishti Ma villa, night. Klishti Ma continues about her task. After a few seconds, she picks up the piece of paper and begins to read.
Beware the hour of all trials. Whatever courage have ye drop.
Klishti Ma pours a red liquid into the pot. It steams and pops. The fumes are so intense that she gags and coughs. Klishti Ma moves back away from the pot to get some clean air. After catching her breath, she moves back into position and reads on.
Beware the wraith and the bright red rose.
She takes a red rose and clips off each of its thorns one by one. As they drop into the potion, a flash of electricity comes out of the pot. Then she takes the rose flower and crushes it in her hand and drops it into the pot.
The waxing gold settling on into forever.
A thumping sound comes from outside the door briefly. Klishti Ma stops her incantation and listens. There are no more sounds.
Beware the hour amid tomorrow and today.
Suddenly, the doors burst open as several of the king's guards rush in.
Stop! You are under arrest.
Klishti Ma is soon surrounded by guards. They grab her as she tries to finish the incantation and put the last ingredient into the pot.
When the Serpent King rings round all of creation.
As she is restrained, she throws the final ingredient, but it lands on the ground. Munami is now with the guards.
You have broken the king's law. No one shall practice the black arts.
I don't know what has possessed you, Klishtima.
Klishtima struggles and screams as the guards carry her out.
Let me go!
Exterior, Klishtima Villa, night. As the guards drag Klishtima from the villa, Kumbama watches from across the street in the shadows. Interior, the council chamber, day. Klishtima and Kulaba stand in shackles in front of the king's council, consisting of King Morpheus, Maika-Mi, Muna-Mi, Mina-Mi, and Mama Gogo. The bull marchers stand behind the king.
This council finds you guilty of treason and of concocting demonic potions. Do you have anything to say before sentencing?
Klishtima has had her head down this entire time, but now slowly looks up and glares at the council.
When the Serpent King rings round all of creation.
As Klishtima begins recanting her incantation, the council and all the room rear up in alarm.
Stop your evil incantation immediately!
For that marks the hour of all theft.
Guards! Silence her!
Klishtima, I beseech you, beg the council for forgiveness.
Two of the king's guards rush up and grab hold of her.
When pervert guilt poisons eternity.
A third guard brings a leather strap, wraps it around her head, and gags her. Klishtima struggles to speak while staring at the council defiantly.
This council sentences you to banishment from Hammer Ridge. Tomorrow at dawn, you will be escorted to the outskirts of the kingdom.
Interior, Mama Gogo's chambers, night. The chamber is large and tidy. Symbols of what appear to be some sort of Ptolemaic version of the zodiac abound. Mama Gogo has the ability to see the future, a trait that shows up every generation or so among the people of Hammer Ridge. Mama Gogo stands in the center of the room. Her eyes are wide open. She is in a trance. She begins muttering to herself, then screams out. Her head drops, and then a second later her entire body falls to the ground.
No!
She slowly pulls herself up from the floor and over to a chair with her head still lowered, her hand wrapped around her forehead.
Can't be.
She has had a horrible vision. Standing in the corner of the room is a tall, slender, genderless person holding a severed head in its right hand. The creature is mute and emotionless. The head is alive and watching Mama Gogo. Its name is Veer. Veer is a respected advisor in the kingdom. The creature steps forward, but still remains 10 paces away from Mama Gogo. Veer stares at Mama Gogo intently.
What is it this time?
Mama Gogo hears, but prefers not to answer.
You had a vision.
All visions do not come true.
Yours do.
For the first time, Mama Gogo looks over at Veer.
The future contains great horror for the kingdom.
Exterior, the town of Hammer Ridge, day. A large crowd has gathered to watch Klishtima escorted out of the city. There are a number of undesirables following alongside as Klishtima walks past the king and his council members. These undesirables, including Kulaba, plan to follow Klishtima out of the kingdom.
You haven't seen the last of me. There will be powerful forces, evil forces, aiding me in your destruction and the downfall of your kingdom.
Kulaba approaches Klishtima. Interior, Kumbama's villa, day, continuous. Kumbama stands at his window, looking out as his sister is being escorted past his villa on the street below. There is a knock at the door. He turns. Looking confused and a little alarmed, he pauses for a second, then approaches the door. He peers through the peephole. It is Mama Gogo. His eyes glimmer at the sight of her. He opens the door tentatively, curious as to why she would be coming to his door. He looks at her, but doesn't speak.
You aren't leaving with your sister.
She has made her own trouble. Why should I penalize myself for her foolishness?
So, you're staying.
Kumbama nods.
I'm glad.
Mama Gogo smiles. Kumbama is surprised, but his own ego quickly allows him to believe he is desired by Mama Gogo. She steps forward and caresses Kumbama's face with her fingers. She continues to move in closer to him. Exterior, the town of Hammer Ridge, day. The townspeople line the streets, chiding Klishtima and the growing entourage that have joined her. Interior, Kumbama's villa, continuous. Kumbama and Mama Gogo are now in a steamy embrace. Mama Gogo begins removing Kumbama's clothing. Exterior, the town of Hammer Ridge, day. Klishtima is now at the edge of the city, and the townspeople stay inside the gates, but many undesirables are now marching with Klishtima. She prods them on, as if pumping up a team before the big game. Interior, Kumbama's villa, continuous. Kumbama and Mama Gogo, now nearly naked, are engaged in a violent sexual encounter. Exterior, the town of Hammer Ridge, day. Klishtima's rabble of followers are now outside the city, going off into the distance. Interior, Kumbama's villa, continuous. Kumbama reaches sexual ecstasy. Exterior, the town of Hammer Ridge, day. Klishtima looks back at the town.
I will return, Morpheus. Mark my words, you will regret the day you spurn me.
Interior, Kumbama's villa, continuous. The sexual encounter complete, Kumbama rises up from Mama Gogo. He has a great feeling of accomplishment.
You made a wise decision to come knocking at my door.
Suddenly, Mama Gogo rises up. She has a large sword in her hand. Kumbama does not see her, but hearing her stir, he turns, and his eyes widen just as the blade removes his head from his shoulders. Kumbama's head goes flying across the room. Exterior, forest outside of Hammer Ridge, day. Klishtima and Kulaba lead the pack of followers through the forest.
Queen Ma.
Klishtima looks quickly at Kulaba with an approving smile of queen.
In the Mad Briar, there is a buried city.
Of the Hannentramp. I know the story, so what?
This city holds the staff of Crystallis.
Klishtima stops quickly and turns towards Kulaba.
It was destroyed when the city was destroyed.
It cannot be destroyed, my queen. The staff and the red rose of Yamuke was the power behind the Hannentramp when they ruled the world.
What needs to be done?
Klishtima starts walking again.
Find the staff. Take the king's heart to fuel the staff's power.
Oh, it will be my pleasure.
And with the red rose, cast the staff's energy over your army.
What will this do?
Increase strength, stamina, healing, speed to that of 10 men.
How do we get these things? There is still Hannentramp alive and they are vicious.
We have a common enemy. Together we can build an army and find the staff. As for the rose, I know where they hid it.
This will be done. And I will destroy King Morpheus and Hammer Ridge.
Interior, palace hallway, day. King Morpheus and a small entourage with concerned looks hurry down the hall. They hear Queen Rosinda cry out in agony. Their hurried walk turns to a run. Interior, the Queen's chambers. Queen Rosinda is lying in bed, looking haggard, having just given birth. She looks up and smiles as she is handed a baby. The king and several attendants look on, all smiling. The king walks over to her and she hands him the baby. Exterior, the palace balcony, continuous. King Morpheus walks onto the balcony, flanked by BRIER and the mute. He lifts up Prince Sean to the crowd below. They cheer.
Today brings a new age to our kingdom. We have an heir to the throne, and with him a bright, prosperous future for our kingdom and its subjects. Hammer Ridge, I give you Prince Sean!
The subjects cheer wildly again. Interior, the Queen's chambers, continuous. The king walks back in with Prince Sean. He gives the baby to the nursemaid, who gives the baby to Queen Rosinda. King Morpheus walks toward the door to make his departure from the Queen's chamber. His council and the bull marchers stand at the door, waiting for the king.
Your Majesty, now that we have the new heir to the throne, we must turn our attention to finding replacements on the council for Clichtama and Mama Gogo.
Yes, mon ami. It has been several months.
We know you have hope that Mama Gogo will return, but we must accept that she has joined Klishtima and her army of Hanentrap.
The king nods.
I thought I knew Mama Gogo. She was so dedicated to the kingdom.
The king looks saddened at the thought of Mama Gogo having gone and joined the evil forces of the Klishtima.
We thought that of Klishtima as well.
The king begins walking down the hallway.
Have we sent another expedition out yet to search for Klishtima?
They returned this morning with no information. But the new council members...
The king stops and turns.
Who do you recommend?
Interior, the cavern at Mad BRIER, night. In the center of the cavern is a large red piece of machinery. It's the red rose of Yumuk. It is over 30 feet high and from a distance resembles a rose. It is built with glass pipes and bare copper wire connecting from the piping. The rose is dirty and falling apart. Klishtima is standing with a follower. Kulaba walks in. Klishtima has been waiting for him.
Did you know about the child?
Yes, my queen, but I didn't want to bother.
That should have been my child. She does not deserve offspring, and nor does he.
My queen.
Send out the hen and tramp. Bring me that child.
Your Highness, should we focus on finding the staff?
I will have his son. I will have his heart. And I will have his kingdom.
Interior, the nursery, night. The nanny, Kinta, sits asleep in one corner of the large room. In the center of the room is a bassinet containing Prince Sean. Exterior, the outskirts of Hammer Ridge, continuous. Silhouettes of a legion of evil soldiers called Hanan Tramp bound across the sky. They quietly make their way into the edge of the city. Interior, the nursery, continuous. There is movement outside the main window of the room. One of the Hanan Tramp peer in. He slowly walks in and picks up Prince Sean from the crib. Immediately, the baby starts to cry. The Hanan Tramp dashes toward the window as Kinta opens her eyes to see the creature briefly. She gasps in horror at the sight of the Hanan Tramp. Then, remembering the baby, she runs over to the bassinet.
No!
Seeing the empty crib, she runs to a corner of the room and begins pulling on a long, thick rope, which is hanging from the ceiling. Bells begin to chime, warning Hammer Ridge of an emergency. Exterior, within the city walls, continuous. Silhouettes again of the Hanan Tramp. This time they are fleeing the city. The king's guards can be heard, and arrows begin flying through the air in an effort to stop the Hanon tramp. Interior, the nursery, continuous. Two of the king's guards come running into the rooms, quickly followed by the King Morpheus and the bull marchers.
They've taken the prince!
Queen Rosinda hurries into the room, just in time to hear the news. She runs to the window and, realizing the king's guards are shooting arrows at the Hanon tramp.
Order the guards not to shoot! They could hit the baby!
Exterior, the outer wall of Hammer Ridge, continuous. The king's guard are still sending arrows at the Hanon tramp.
Hold your arrows!
Disappointed at not being able to get the Hanon tramp, the guards drop their bows. Exterior, the Kingdom Forest, day. Myka runs from his location to Munami's position. Minami sees this and also runs to that location. Minami is exhausted, tries to stop, but stumbles and runs into Myka, knocking him and himself to the ground. Myka jumps up.
This is ridiculous. We're exhausted. We've been at this for 18 months.
He's right. We're not going to find him.
Don't tell me!
Moving quickly toward them, poking Myka in the eye and slapping Minami across the head.
I know what's going on here.
Minami, now furious, swings at Munami. Munami blocks. Minami swings her other arm. She blocks. Munami kicks her in the shin, knocking Munami's feet from under her.
Captain, what is wrong with the generals?
Why did you do that? You shouldn't have done that.
Myka, wanting to get back at Munami, goes to step on her, and she rolls away from him. Myka continues to try to step on her. Munami keeps rolling.
Muna, stop rolling!
Munami keeps rolling until she hits a rock.
Yeah!
Munami rolls quickly back at Myka's legs and knocks Myka to the ground.
How do you like that?
I didn't!
Myka rolls over and starts kicking wildly like a 6-year-old child, fending off his brother.
You two stop that!
It must be a curse.
Munami starts spitting on Myka and Minami. The captain of the guards runs over and breaks up the fight.
We need to head back and inform the king of the situation.
Exterior, the palace gate, day. The king's guards, looking tired, march into the palace. King Morpheus is there to greet them, but he can tell from their appearance that they do not have any good news for him.
Sire, we have journeyed all the way to the eastern shore and have found no sign of Klishti Ma, Prince Sean of the Hanon trap. It's her fault!
How is it my fault?
Munami pushes Myka.
Is there nothing we can do to stop this behavior?
It's Myka's fault. He's too slow.
I'm not too slow.
Minami pulls Munami's hair. They start slapping each other.
Captain, you must do something.
Enough!
The three look wildly at each other.
Find my child!
We have looked for 18 months, sire. There's no trace of him.
I don't care how long it takes. Find my son!
Exterior, top of FINDRA mountain range, day. Two Hanon trap sentinels watch the terrain from far below in the FINDRA valley. They spot a battalion of Hammer Ridge soldiers coming out of a wooded area and headed toward FINDRA mountain. Exterior, FINDRA valley, continuous. The three generals lead about 50 soldiers into a meadow. They stop and look up at the rugged mountain range before them.
2 days, just to get to the top of the ridge.
Yes, we're on the other side of Mad BRIER. It's one of the few places we have not searched for Klishti Ma.
I have a feeling she's there.
Myka and Minami continue to look up at the mountain range as Munami gives orders to the captain of the guard. Exterior, top of FINDRA mountain range, day. One of the Hanon tramp sentinels peers through a looking glass at the soldiers.
Go for Klishti Ma.
The other Hanon tramp runs off obediently. Exterior, FINDRA valley, dawn. The soldiers break camp and ready themselves for the first day of climbing Mount FINDRA. Exterior, top of FINDRA mountain range, continuous. Klishti Ma now stands with the 2 sentinels and some 10 other Hannan tramp guards. She looks down at the soldiers, then pulls 3 medals from a satchel. They are the same 3 medals the generals had been awarded after the Battle of KAYOREE. She places the medals in a wooden bowl and adds a red liquid from a vial. Then, as she starts to sprinkle in a black powder, ever so slowly, her eyes roll back in her head.
Prayers of demons. Silence the howling wet dogs.
Still slowly pouring the black powder, the concoction begins to glow.
These children find madness, and like a thorny rose, their madness grows. Hell, bring me your demons to summon this spell.
A flash of lightning comes from the bowl, shooting directly at the generals. Exterior, FINDRA Valley, continuous. The flash of lightning reaches the generals, but by then the flash is just powerful enough to cause them to blink. They barely notice anything happened. Munami stops short and shakes her head as to clear it. She looks over at the other 2 generals. She seems disturbed.
I don't think I drained the bath when I left Hammer Ridge.
Mikami and Minami look confused.
Your servant can look after that for you.
And then
Mikami loses his train of thought and begins to stare at his thumbs, then twiddle them. Minami stops as if to reconsider Munami's concern about her bathwater.
Maybe we should go and check the bathwater.
Mikami quickly looking up from his thumb, twiddling.
Yeah, maybe.
Mikami is back to twiddling his thumbs as Munami turns around 3 times. Then, facing the soldiers, she raises her arms.
We return to Hammer Ridge.
The soldiers are confused, and the captain of the guard steps up to Munami to ask privately.
But ma'am, our quest to find Klishti Ma.
Captain, I think you need to relax.
You look stressed.
He needs a cooler monkey.
Nothing like a cooler monkey to relieve stress.
Now, the captain of the guard turns to Minami.
But sire, Klishti Ma.
We'll check another day.
Mikami now is trying to catch each thumb with the other thumb. He begins to sing a little ditty to himself as the confused soldiers follow Minami and Munami in the other direction.
Thumb after thumb, chasing my thumb. Who's got a little finger chasing my thumb? Booyah, booyah, chasing my thumb.
Exterior, the town of Hammer Ridge. 20 years later, graphic. A group of the king's men come into town weary, dirty, hungry. The kingdom of Hammer Ridge is now in decay. Garbage lines the streets. There is little activity in this once busy town. The people have little ambition. 2 townsmen next to a building, almost hiding, see them empty-handed.
I see another fruitful mission.
Well worth the cost.
The soldiers walk by a tavern.
Can we go in?
The captain of the guard looks it over, then smiles.
Why not? We deserve this.
The soldiers go in. Interior, the tavern of Hammer Ridge, night. The dilapidated tavern is nearly empty. There are 3 men sitting apart from each other. One is with a woman who is obviously a prostitute and obviously drunk. The bartender stands behind the bar, waiting for someone to order a drink. All 5 look like they have seen better days. The man at the bar can barely see straight. The man with the prostitute suddenly pushes her away. She falls to the ground, but jumps back up and shoves him off his chair. The man at the bar sees the soldiers come in.
Great. This makes this night.
The bartender looks over as the soldiers start to sit down. She calls a girl from the back.
Sophia, customers.
Sophia, the barmaid, comes out from the back, sees the soldiers, and heads over.
What can I get you?
You, on a plate.
The prostitute and her John have made amends and are now groping and kissing each other the best they can in their drunken state. The others just ignore them. The man at the bar sneers at the guards, then turns to the bartender.
The king has just gone wacko. That's the problem.
No, he's been cursed.
Cursed?
By Klishtima. She cursed him when she was banished.
Totally absurd.
That's why he's so obsessed with finding his son.
No, what man wouldn't want to find his son?
But to allow the kingdom to go to hell, why he does it.
The captain of the guard gets up and walks to him. He doesn't say a word, and the people in the bar are silent as they try not to make eye contact with the guards. One of the guards goes behind the bar and stands silently next to the bartender. She turns around and reaches into a drawer and brings out a small cloth bag of coins. She gives it to the guard. He looks over at the prostitute and starts to walk toward her, but the bartender grabs his arm.
My sister is busy with a client.
The guard turns to her and smiles.
Then it looks like it's you this time.
She doesn't look pleased, but turns and walks out a door behind the bar. The captain follows, removing his jacket as he walks. He turns to the soldiers and points at one.
You, go tell Via the news.
The guard looks upset, but gets up and starts to leave. Sophia is coming with drinks. He grabs one and leaves. Interior, the king's chamber, continuous. Morpheus looks haggard as he waits for another expedition that he has set out to search for Sean. There is a knock at the door.
Enter!
The mute walks in past the bull marchers, carrying Beer.
Any word?
There is little hope in the king's voice. After 20 years, he is compelled to keep up the search, but has resigned himself to never finding his son. Veer looks up at the king and casts his eyes downward.
None.
The king turns to walk away.
Sire, I must implore you. Give up your search for Prince Sean. The kingdom needs your leadership.
The king quickly turns and gives Veer a stern look. Veer is quiet. Interior, the cavern at Mad BRIER, night. The cavern is filled with Hen and Tramp, preparing weapons. In the center of the cavern is the rose. The glass pipes are now flowing with blood. The bare copper wire connecting the piping sputters every few seconds, as if trying yet failing to start. Conspicuously in its center is the staff of Crystallos. The staff looks like a tree branch with a crystal globe on top. It stands about 6 feet high. Klishtima looks up from admiring the staff as one member of her army comes in and approaches her. He stands there at attention.
Well?
Hammerridge is in decay. Each day, more and more of the king's guards leave to find a better life.
Excellent.
His subjects are ready to revolt.
It is time. Finish the preparations. Tomorrow we take the king's heart.
Prince Sean, dressed as a Hen and Tramp officer, comes over to her.
So time to kill my father?
Yes, my son.
Can't wait to cut out the evil King Morpheus' heart.
I will be the one to cut out his heart. It's a favor I've been waiting to return.
I want to do it.
We need Morpheus's living heart to control the rose.
Klishtima looks over at the staff at the machine's center.
With that in place, the rose is complete.
Klishtima smiles.
I know this. Why can't I be the one?
Klishtima turns to Prince Sean.
Because you are too young and too impatient. I cannot risk anything going wrong. I have waited too long for this.
Prince Sean is angry and feeling rejected.
My son, don't you worry. You will have your vengeance. When we attack Hammerridge, that false queen will be all yours to do with what you will.
Prince Sean smiles.
She'll pay for hurting your mother. She will suffer as you have suffered.
Exterior, Hammer Ridge, night. The king, the bull marchers, and a few of his men travel down through Hammer Ridge, remembering its former luster. There, the citizens of Hammer Ridge huddle around the soldiers, begging for a handout. The king and his men ignore them. Even in its decrepit state, the landscape within the borders of Hammer Ridge are wondrous. Exterior, Hammer Ridge, night. The king and his men are at a red light which shines from the massive moon hovering close to Hammer Ridge's atmosphere. Suddenly, black clouds like birds flitter in the sky. Panic ensues. The clouds get bigger, and the king watches them come into focus. The clouds have been hiding the Hanan Tramp legions bounding toward the city. The king rallies his men and the bull marchers. Then, in a great black thunder, the Hanan Tramp land among the king's troops. The attack begins. The red light gets brighter in Hammer Ridge as Klishtima arrives riding atop the giant red rose from Mad BRIER Yawn. King Morpheus readies himself for a battle.
At last. What have you done with my son?
Your son?
Klishtima jumps from the rose, followed closely by Hanan Tramp soldiers. She is a terrifying force, cutting down one of the bull marchers. She heads for the king with 3 of the Hanan Tramp, while the other Hanan Tramp soldiers tear into the other bull marcher. The king takes out one of the Hanan Tramp, but the others quickly throw the king to the ground. Exterior, Hammer Ridge battle scene, night. The Hanan Tramp hold down the king, and Klishtima removes King Morpheus's helmet. She pulls a knife and gently pulls it across his chest.
Do you still feel that I am a mistake?
You are the worst mistake I have made.
Then, with all her hate and venom, she cuts out the heart of the king, leaving him to bleed out. She goes to the staff and very carefully puts the heart on top. The heart sinks into the crystal on top of the staff. When the heart is fully absorbed into the top of the staff, the crystal starts aglow, and you can see the heart is still pumping.
We have what we came for. It's time for us to leave.
She looks at the Hanan Tramp holding down the king.
You take the king and tear him apart. I want his body scattered about. Let this be a warning to Hammer Ridge of their limited time left.
Klishtima gets on the red rose with the heart and takes off. Exterior, edge of forest, night. Mama Gogo, Johnny, Sundi, and Go Boy run to the edge of the forest and watch as Klishtima takes off.
Johnny, follow her.
Johnny follows Klishtima. Mama Gogo turns to the other.
Sunday, Go Boy. We need to get the king.
The 3 make their way towards the king. Exterior, Hammer Ridge battle scene, night. The army of the moon departs, leaving only a few Hanan Tramp behind to collect the weapons of the king's dead soldiers and to entertain themselves by ripping apart the bodies. King Morpheus lies on the ground, staring at the red sky. His eyes get weary, his vision fading in and out. The blood flows out in surges. The sinister Hanan Tramps squeal and dance around Morpheus's body. All King Morpheus hears before total darkness is the screams of demons and the ripping sound of tearing flesh. A Hanan Tramp lifts a sword to hack up the king. As the Hanan Tramp reaches full height, an arrow goes through his arm and into his neck. Go Boy attacks another Hanan Tramp. Interior, the hideout of Mama Gogo, night. King Morpheus awakens in the cavern. The hole in his chest, which once contained his heart, is now replaced by a mechanical pump. He looks up and sees Mama Gogo. The king gasps, believing he is in danger, as he believes Mama Gogo is on Klishtima's side. He tries to get up to defend himself.
Relax, my lord.
She goes over to him, and in his weakened state, she is able to easily restrain him.
I have not joined the Klishtima.
Why am I not dead?
You cannot die unless your heart dies. The kingdom won't allow it.
I don't understand.
And yet never will.
Where have you been?
I believe I owe you an explanation.
The king relaxes. Though she is 20 years older than the last time she was seen, Mama Gogo looks physically very much the same. It is her clothing that is different. Same style, but ragged and faded.
20 years ago, when Klishtima was banished from Hammer Ridge, I knew I must leave too. My path was neither to follow her nor to remain with the kingdom, for I had the vision and I felt I must go into isolation.
Why would you abandon your kingdom?
Why would you?
I have never abandoned my kingdom.
Never abandon your kingdom? What have you done for your kingdom in the last 20 years?
I've been searching for the prince, their new leader.
But at what cost?
Don't question me. I was there when I...
King Morpheus starts to cough and is still very weak. He lies back.
Enough. You need your heart and your son just as much as the kingdom does. I rescued you to bring the kingdom back to glory. I left the kingdom to save the prince.
I have been trying for 20 years to bring back my son. You think you will find him?
I do. While you were sitting in your room feeling pity on yourself, I've been preparing. I knew she wouldn't stay hidden forever, that she would give herself away. And she has.
She looks at Morpheus.
I want you to meet my preparations.
She gestures to 3 figures who have been standing in the shadows of the cave. Johnny and Sundee, both young women, and Go-Boy, a young muscular man.
This is Sundee, an archer. She rivals even me. Johnny, a born tracker, very gifted. And Go-Boy, a strong swordsman, and he has the heart of a leader.
This is what will save the kingdom? Children?
They are very seasoned. You must look past their age. They are warriors, and they are strong. They are smart, and they are fearless.
I will get my guards to go after Klishtima.
No, sire. You will not.
Mama Gogo turns to the 3 young warriors.
What have you found?
I know where they are. Mad BRIER.
We go at once.
Mama Gogo turns to the king and holds him down. The 3 young warriors step forward to assist, but it is immediately evident that Morpheus has so little strength that Mama Gogo needs no help.
You need to rest. Your strength will come back quickly. It seems now you have a reason to be strong.
Mama Gogo stands up.
Mad BRIER is very dangerous and very large. We'll need a map.
Mama Gogo turns to her 3 young warriors.
You must go to Zeta and get the map of Mad BRIER from the well of Paul in the map room. But remember, it's guarded by Gooman. And the deeper into Gooman territory,
The more Gooman.
good.
They'll be killed. Those are awful creatures.
Mama Gogo, smiling, turns her head to the king.
You used to have an unwavering trust in me.
King Morpheus has no regret at his actions or lack of trust in Mama Gogo. He looks at her sternly. Mama Gogo turns to her 3 disciples.
Now, go and retrieve the map.
Yes, Mama Gogo.
The 3 quickly leave the cave running. Mama Gogo moves closer to the cave entrance to watch their exit. When they are out of sight, she turns back to King Morpheus.
Tell me of your vision. Is this what you saw?
This is part of it.
What happens next?
It will unfold.
Tell me!
The last time I told you of my vision, you made it worse.
What?
I told you Klishtima would try to seduce you. And what did you do?
What does that have to do with anything?
You went after her knowing you could have her. And with your weakness, you caused an imbalance in the kingdom.
I was young.
You are Hammer Ridge's king. You have no excuses. Your actions have dire consequences. Your actions caused the Gooman to attack.
The Gooman attacked because they needed food.
You used to tell me out of all your advisors, I was the one you listened to most.
You were. That is why it hurt so much when you left.
Well, for all your listening, it would have been nice if you would have heard me.
I did hear you.
This will be the last time I'll tell you this, so I pray you listen. You are the strength of Hammer Ridge. If you are strong, Hammer Ridge is strong. If you are weak, Hammer Ridge is weak. The kingdom and the king are one. It's not symbolic, it's spiritual.
King is fighting sleep. His eyes start closing. Exhausted, he can't keep himself awake.
Rest, King Morpheus. Rest. The days that follow will only get harder.
Exterior, day, LUCICH Forest. Johnny, Sundee, and Goboy walk in a line through a dense forest. Goboy takes up the lead. There are many unusual sounds coming from the forest, and Sundee seems particularly attentive to the sounds.
We should stop and rest here.
Rest? Mama Gogo wants us back, and as quickly as possible.
Well, we will soon be in Guman territory, and there may be no more opportunities to rest.
Or replenish ourselves. Our hunger will make us weak.
The three stop and unpack their knapsack, bringing out bread and canteens. They are all aware now of the sounds coming from the forest. A loud croaking comes from nearby.
A jacka frog.
A big one.
There is another loud sound.
Banana bird.
Another loud sound.
A cooler monkey.
A red one.
How can you tell it is red?
He's right there.
They look over at a red cooler monkey in a tree. The trio shares a laugh. The monkey comes over to them, begging for food.
Don't feed it.
The cooler monkey sniffs the air and finds its way to a stash of bread in one of the knapsacks. It sniffs the air again and runs off, scared.
What's wrong with that monkey?
He's just scared.
Nothing scares a cooler monkey.
A look of alarm comes over Johnny's face. The other two realize, and all three slowly stand.
Except for...
The forest is totally silent now. Johnny and Goboy slowly draw their swords. Sundee pulls an arrow from its quiver. The three place themselves in a circle, backs toward each other. They look out at the forest. Suddenly, darting from the forest, a Gooman catches Goboy off guard and knocks him down. Goboy is immediately back on his feet. The Gooman has retreated. The trio face out again, waiting. Suddenly, an onslaught of a dozen Gooman come at them. The Gooman are about a head shorter than the three young warriors. They have broad, hairy shoulders and big arms and fists. They do not fight with weapons, just their fists, and by slamming their bodies onto their opponent. The trio each get knocked over several times, but they always get immediately up and continue swinging and stabbing at the Gooman until they all lay dead. The trio catch their breath, but the forest is still totally silent.
Oh, that was fun.
We must hurry. They know we're here now.
They take off running. Exterior, dusk, the Great Well of Paul. Continuing at a run, the three are soon at the Great Well of Paul and surrounded by attacking Gooman. They begin swinging their swords and gradually reducing the number of Gooman.
Johnny, you go!
Johnny immediately runs to the well and climbs down it. The bottom of the well is dry and filled with books and maps in several rooms. There are two Gooman ready to battle her. She quickly pulls her daggers and kills both of them, and then reaches into a hole in the wall of the well. Johnny starts through the maps, looking for Mad BRIER.
Can't anyone organize this?
Exterior, LUCICH Forest, dusk. Goboy and Sundee are fighting off Gooman from going down the well.
Just take your time, we're fine up here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was I holding you up?
I'm alright. It's not like the sun is setting or anything.
A Gooman knocks down Goboy, and Sundee steps in and cuts off the Gooman's leg at the knee.
Are you done playing? Pay attention! Have you found it?
Interior, Well of Paul, dusk. Johnny is tearing through maps.
No!
Exterior, Well of Paul, dusk. Goboy and Sundee still fighting.
Remember, it's a Salkin index system.
Interior, Well of Paul, dusk. Johnny gasps in frustration.
Oh, I wasn't thinking.
She starts scanning over the maps. Exterior, Well of Paul, dusk. Goboy notices Gooman running off.
They're going for help?
Think faster! They'll bring more back!
Johnny springs out of the well, map in hand.
I've got it.
The three immediately take off running. The Gooman pursue for a short while, then stop and make gestures at the trio as they let them go.
Did you get the right one?
What? There's more than one?
Oh, don't listen to him. He just thinks he's funny.
But I am funny.
Only with your fighting skills.
How many times have I saved your life? Let me count.
Oh, can we do this when we get back?
Won't be as much fun then.
Interior, the hideout of Mama Gogo. Night.
Not yet.
Mama Gogo tries to curb King Morpheus's excitement at having a map to Klishti Ma's hideout. King Morpheus is pacing the cave. He is still weakened, but much of his strength has returned since Go-Boy, Sundi, and Johnny left for the Great Well of Paul.
We need to return to Hammer Ridge and gather an army and march on Mad BRIER.
Your army is not what it once was. Do you recall how easy the Hannon tramp struck and removed your heart?
They caught us off guard. We will be the ones to surprise them this time.
It won't be enough.
And we'll have your 3 mighty warriors as well.
We are ready, Mama Gogo.
I know you are, but it's still not enough.
Sundi and the others have their eager looks turn to disappointment.
Then what do you suppose we do?
We were mighty when we were united. We must rebuild your army.
That will take months.
Not with the proper leadership.
Exterior, the Enaram Forest. Dusk. Mama Gogo leads the group of King Morpheus, Sundi, Go-Boy, and Johnny along a trail in the forest. She is listening and looking, not sure where she wants to go. After walking slowly for several minutes, she stops and looks around, then sniffs the air like a dog.
Here. Set the trap here.
Go-Boy, Johnny, and Sundi begin removing their packs. Exterior, the Enaram Forest. Dusk. The forest seems empty when we notice Mama Gogo and King Morpheus hiding behind some rocks and bushes. Both are being very still and quiet. King Morpheus is a bit impatient. Johnny, Go-Boy, and Sundi come running out of their hiding spots to find Munami caught in their trap. Munami is dangling upside down from a rope. She is wearing nothing but a large diaper. She continues to wriggle and rant.
Silence, General Monami.
Mama Gogo and King Morpheus come out from behind the rock.
General Monami, time has been strange to you.
Munami's eyes dance back and forth between the 5 people standing in front of her. In her confusion, she begins to remember events from 8 years previous.
Monami, do you know who we are? Do you remember we...
Exterior, the palace gate. Night. Flashback to 8 years previous. Hammer Ridge is in total decay. Mayhem is all about. Minami suddenly runs into a courtyard area. Dressed in nothing but a diaper, he is jumping about spastically, his eyes wide and an absurd grin on his face. He shouts out absurdities and dances around. Munami comes into the courtyard as more townspeople look on. She is wearing cheap trinkets and costume jewelry and a hospital gown. Both Munami and Minami are barefoot.
They're after us.
They're after us!
It's a bad thing.
It's a bad thing!
They continue to dance around merrily.
Where's my monkey?
Mikami, watching from a distance, also dancing.
My cooler monkey! Where's my cooler monkey?
Mikami is wearing baggy pants, his hands shoved down into the crotch. Dancing, Mikami comes jumping out of his hiding spot and into the courtyard.
Here's your cooler monkey.
Where?
Mikami pulls his hands out of his crotch, then pulls his pants waist out to look down into his crotch. Mikami looks up startled.
It's gone!
It's gone!
Minami points out the palace gate. The 3 stop and look silently. Then Mikami turns to the others.
It's out there!
It's out there. Your cooler monkey is out there.
The 3 look at each other, and again they look out the gate, and again at each other.
Arr!
In unison, the 3 dance and bound happily out the gate and into the distance.
Cooler monkey!
Cooler monkey, come back!
Exterior, the Enaram Forest. Dusk. Mama Gogo walks over to the dangling Munami and tries to make eye contact with her.
General, can you see me?
My fool seems to be leaving me.
King Morpheus steps in front of Mama Gogo.
General, it is your king. We need your help.
Munami simply smiles and stares at the surroundings. Morpheus turns to Mama Gogo.
It's no use. She's lost to us. We're wasting time.
I have no king. I am a monkey.
We just have to remind her of who she is.
Mikami and Minami come out of the bushes.
What are you doing to Minami's foot?
Yeah, you let go of her foot.
Minami and Mikami start chanting, "Leave her foot alone." The three young warriors are readying themselves to fight.
Now, you must understand, we're only here to help you.
Minami and Mikami start circling, still chanting. Munami joins in.
Why are you trying to steal her foot?
These guys are going to help us? We should go on our own.
Mama Gogo knows what she is doing.
They're still more stable than you.
Johnny shrugs and smacks Goboy again. Now all three generals are watching. They start screaming in excitement. Minami throws a knife and cuts the rope holding up Munami. She falls to the ground. They start screaming again. Then Minami attacks Sandi. Mikami attacks Goboy. Muna attacks Johnny. Morpheus looks at Mama Gogo.
This is your plan? These are people who will save my son and my kingdom?
They're just lost, looking to be found.
King Morpheus looks at Mama Gogo again, and then to the fight. He walks closer.
Mikami! Monami! Minami, attention!
The fighting stops, and Mikami, Munami, and Minami come to attention.
I am your king. You have a mission.
Yes, king.
The three generals stay at attention, but are squirming like three antsy kids. Minami is trying to hold back his laughter.
Where have you been?
We only have what you gave us. You lose your path and we lose ours.
Well, I have a very clear path, and we will have victory.
King Morpheus, it is time.
We're going to the palace. Get your things.
The generals go back to their child's play, fighting with Goboy, Johnny, and Sandi, who have no more patience for this. The generals are quickly pinned down on their backs. They continue to struggle.
Let us go!
Oh, I don't mind if you make yourself a fool, but you're starting to make me look like one.
It is futile. These aren't warriors. They're idiots.
King Morpheus sternly walks over to where Johnny has Mikami pinned. He looks down at Mikami.
For honor, for king, for Hammerridge!
Mikami stares up at Morpheus. After a couple seconds...
Wabba dabba.
Frustrated, King Morpheus walks to Munami, who is pinned down by Goboy. Again, the king looks down and stares into the eyes of Munami.
For honor, for king, for Hammerridge!
Arguman walks into a tavern with a cooler monkey in his head.
Goboy covers Munami's mouth with his hand. Now King Morpheus walks to Minami. This time the king gets on his knees and gets nose to nose with Minami.
For honor, for king, for Hammerridge!
Minami just stares at him with a silly grin. King Morpheus stands up, feeling defeated, as he starts to walk back over to Mama Gogo.
For honor, for king, for Hammerridge.
Minami no longer has the voice of a fool. It is the powerful voice he once had. Sandi suddenly goes flying through the air, only to be stopped by a tree. The powerful Minami has thrown her off. He stands and faces the king. Minami's eyes are now sharp and focused.
Sire, where have you been? We have been searching a long time.
I lost my way, but you have now found me.
General Munami! General Mikami! The king is with us again!
There is a pause. Munami and Mikami remain on the ground, making silly faces.
Generals! For honor, for king, for Hammerridge!
Goboy and Johnny go flying off of the two generals. Mikami and Munami stand and bow to King Morpheus. They chant in unison.
For honor, for king, for Hammerridge!
The king looks at his 3 generals and smiles. Exterior, the palace gate, night. The 8 come marching up to the palace gate. Mycami, Minami, and Munami now in their soldier attire. Interior, the palace, day. Vir knocks on the king's chamber. The king is inside his chamber in an embrace with Queen Rosinda.
Yes?
Vir enters.
King Morpheus, the new army is ready and at the gate.
What are our numbers?
Very good, my lord. 10,000, maybe 11,000?
Then we march. Bring them to the gates.
Vir leaves. Exterior, the palace gate, day. Everyone is reunited back at the castle gate. King Morpheus, Munami, Mycami, and Minami come atop the gate and look down at the army which has assembled there. Munami, Mycami, and Minami are looking out like their old selves. The king raises his hand to silence the crowd.
This is the beginning of the return of our kingdom to glory. We will wipe out Clistima and her Hannon tramp and return Prince Sean, our destined savior. We are strong people, a destined people. We will win this war.
Exterior, Ursepki Forest, day. The Hammerridge army is so large and the forest so dense that the soldiers are spread around different areas of the forest. Some divisions forge ahead. King Morpheus rides in a cart being pulled by 2 bull marchers. The captain of the guard comes running up to Morpheus.
General Munami suggests we camp at the river tonight.
Are we scheduled to reach Mad BRIER by midday tomorrow?
He says we're right on schedule. We are more than halfway to Mad BRIER.
Morpheus nods approvingly. Exterior, River of Garfus, dusk. Several Hannon tramp are hidden in the trees around the river of Garfus. A portion of the Hammerridge army approaches. King Morpheus is leading this division of troops. More and more Hannon tramp appear in the trees and on the ground. As the troops begin to near the river, the Hannon tramp attack. A skirmish ensues, but King Morpheus and his troops quickly dispose of the Hannon tramp. King Morpheus is personally involved in the battle, and at the end of it all, pulls his sword from the chest of one of the dying Hannon tramp. King Morpheus turns to walk away.
Morpheus!
King Morpheus continues to walk away.
Morpheus, your son is waiting for you. Waiting to kill you.
Morpheus turns angrily and marches back to the dying Hannon tramp. He raises his sword.
Killing me will not do no good. Clistima has poisoned the mind of Prince Sean. He now knows you're evil. He knows you're trying to kill him. But Clistima rescued him. So he waits. He waits for your arrival so he can kill you. You lie.
Morpheus, with a single blow, slices off the head of the dying Hannon tramp. His head goes flying. It comes to a stop, but the eyes are still open, and the Hannon tramp continues to live briefly.
My death will not change the truth. You will soon be dead by the hand of your own son.
Morpheus raises his sword again at the head. He looks down, but does not swing the blade. The Hannon tramp is now dead. Exterior, far bank of the Garfus River, night. In the distance, the Hammerridge army is setting up camp as a lone, bloodied Hannon tramp climbs out of the water and up a hill, making his escape. Interior, the cavern at Mad BRIER, night. The same bloody Hannon tramp that escaped in the battle at the river Garfus is standing beside Clistima, having just warned her of the impending attack. The cavern is filled with Hannon tramp, preparing weapons. She turns to another of her Hannon tramp soldiers.
Bring me Prince Sean. The time has come for him to serve justice on his Cretan father.
A Hannon tramp leaves the room to retrieve the prince. Exterior, The outskirts of Mad BRIER, day. The Hammer Ridge warriors reach Mad BRIER, and in a great battle defeat the outer ring of Hammond Tramp.
There's no challenge here. We were promised a great battle. So far, it's just been games.
Klishtima will have her more skilled soldiers inside Mad BRIER. You need not worry, Johnny. Your skills are about to be challenged.
Interior, the cavern at Mad BRIER, night. Orders are being barked out as plans are being made. King Morpheus is standing, watching Munami as she outlines the plan.
The scouts have found this entrance here and here. Mikami and Minami will take their squads in here.
She points to the first entrance.
And the king and I will head into here.
She points to the second entrance.
Are we ready?
We are ready.
Munami stands up.
For honor!
For honor!
For king!
For king!
For Hammer Ridge!
For Hammer Ridge!
Now move!
Munami turns to King Morpheus.
We'll get him back tonight.
Exterior, dusk, Mad BRIER. The Hammer Ridge warriors make their way into the inner fortress, where Klishtima has her mightier, more skilled Hammond Tramp. The battle goes back and forth. Mikami, Munami, and Minami always leading the charge. King Morpheus takes off the head of another enemy, then quickly draws back his sword for the next one. It is Klishtima. She stands there, her shoulders square, but her weapon down.
Morpheus, I took your heart, yet you continue to haunt me.
I want my son back.
You really believe you can have your son back?
Klishtima gives an evil smile and steps to the side, revealing that Sean is right behind her. Sean steps forward. King Morpheus, seeing his son for the first time in 20 years, is taken aback and nearly becomes weepy.
My son.
Prince Sean strikes a pose ready to swing his sword down on King Morpheus. A look of contempt fills his face.
Father!
Prince Sean glares.
You serpent-tongued liar and cowardly cheat.
Even though King Morpheus had been warned that his son had been brainwashed, Prince Sean's words still stun him.
All you've ever done is destroy Hammer Ridge, and now you come here to murder my mother.
Prince Sean gestures to Klishtima, indicating he believes she is his mother.
She is not your mother.
Prince Sean swings his sword down onto King Morpheus, who moves just in time to avoid decapitation, but is still given a deep cut across his arm. King Morpheus gets the upper hand, and soon Sean is on his back, with King Morpheus's blade at his throat. Morpheus suddenly withdraws, unable to kill his own son.
I can't.
Prince Sean gives out a battle cry as he jumps up again to decapitate his father.
Kill him, boy!
But before he can, Go-Boy stops Prince Sean's blade, and the two battle.
Leave him!
Go-Boy and Prince Sean are evenly matched, but Prince Sean's sword becomes momentarily snagged in Go-Boy's armor. Go-Boy takes advantage of the situation, cutting off the head of Prince Sean. King Morpheus, shocked at seeing his son beheaded, goes berserk, attacking Go-Boy.
My king, you know not what you do.
Go-Boy is young and strong, but no match for the enraged Morpheus, and just before the king is about to thrust his blade through Go-Boy, Morpheus is smashed on the side of the head with a hammer and falls to the ground, unconscious. Interior, the hideout of Mama Gogo, night. King Morpheus awakes again in Mama Gogo's cavern, his mechanical heart now gone. As he focuses his eyes, he sees it is not Mama Gogo who is looking down on him. It is Queen Rosinda.
You have your heart back.
King Morpheus is confused and disturbed, recalling that his last memory was of the battle.
Your army has defeated Klishtima and Hammond Tramp.
As Morpheus's mind clears, he is now distraught.
What joy can I have now that my eyes have seen my own son killed?
Morpheus slowly looks up and realizes that the cavern is filled with all his council and warriors, and then sees Go-Boy standing close by. He lashes out, but Queen Rosinda stops him. In his weakened state, Morpheus is easily restrained. Mama Gogo steps forward.
Sire, I'd like you to meet your son.
You mean the man who murdered my son?
No. This is Prince Sean. It was my son whose life was taken.
Interior, Kumbama's villa, night. Flashback to the sexual encounter between Kumbama and Mama Gogo.
20 years ago, I had a vision that Klishtima would steal the new prince and raise him as her own. And that child would grow up to raise his own sword against you.
Flashback continues as Kumbama rises up from Mama Gogo. He smiles with a great feeling of accomplishment.
So, I devised a way to protect the prince.
You made a wise decision to come knocking at my door.
Mama Gogo suddenly rises up. She has a large sword in her hand. Interior, the hideout of Mama Gogo, night. Continuing flashback, Mama Gogo is alone. Her screams of pain echo through the chamber as she gives birth to Kumbama's child.
I created a child for Klishtima to steal.
Interior, the nursery, night. Flashback to Kinta, the nanny, as she sits asleep in one corner of the large room. In the center of the room is a bassinet containing Prince Sean. Exterior, the outskirts of the Hammer Ridge. Continuous. Flashback to silhouettes of a legion of Hannan tramp bounding across the sky. They quietly make their way in to the edge of the city. Interior, the nursery, night. Mama Gogo peers from behind one of the drapes, then slowly moves over to the bassinet with Kumbama's child in her arms.
And took Prince Sean to keep safe here at the cavern.
She swaps the babies and scurries out of the room with baby Prince Sean just as the sound of the approaching Hannan tramp is heard and the silhouette of a Hannan tramp appears at the window. Interior, the hideout of Mama Gogo, night. Mama Gogo standing next to Go Boy.
King Morpheus, this is your son, Prince Sean.
King Morpheus is still confused. He rises as he finally grasps what Mama Gogo has said.
My son?
Father.
King Morpheus, still not quite certain, stares at Go Boy's eyes for a moment. He looks over at Queen Rosinda. She nods. Morpheus looks again at Go Boy's eyes, and then he is certain. King Morpheus and Prince Sean embrace as Queen Rosinda proudly looks on.
We must celebrate the rebirth of Hammer Ridge.
The council and warriors cheer.
Klishtima?
She escaped, but we will not stop until we find her.
Now that the son has been reunited with the father, and Klishtima is no longer a threat to the kingdom.
Another cheer.
It is time to bring him home. It is time for Hammer Ridge to start healing.
And it is time for you to come home.
No.
Mama Gogo bows to King Morpheus, then turns and walks out of the cavern as all eyes watch.
What?
King Morpheus starts to pursue her, only to be stopped by Queen Rosinda.
She has sacrificed enough for the good of the kingdom, including her own son.
They watch Mama Gogo exit the cavern.
She wishes to live out her remaining days alone here in the cavern.
Exterior, palace courtyard, day. King Morpheus, Queen Rosinda, Prince Sean, and the council members stand on a stage in the Hammer Ridge Palace courtyard. A large, jubilant crowd is gathered. The king raises his arms for silence.
For the past 20 years, people have known pain, have known suffering, have watched as our kingdom has crumbled. We have known better times, stronger times, and we will know them again.
The crowd cheers wildly. King Morpheus continues his address, which quiets the crowd again.
We will heal. We will rebuild. We will grow strong, stronger than we ever were. Your king will no longer mourn for his son. Your king will fight his son's life. Tomorrow, we start again.
But tonight, we laugh, we feast, we dance.
Prince Sean steps forward and stands next to his father and draws his sword, holding it to the sky.
For honor! For kings! For Hammerridge!
The people cheer and begin their celebration with food and drink, and they dance the traditional Hammerridge dance of victory.